collaborators plumb the depths of their experience to make sense of a world gone completely insane. Subscribe for the word. Like and leave a comment. Stranger by the Hour.
Welcome back to Stranger by the Hour, everybody. Episode 125 coming at you March 21st at 2024, in case you find this on some dusty hard drive in a fucking bunker somewhere. And tonight, folks, we got another cool guest for you, man. We got a gentleman that's been walking the meme lands for a while, dropping some real truth on folks. A meme lord, if you will. You may have heard his hashtag. I'm sorry, you may have heard his name, Winston Montag, whispered throughout the fucking internet. Currently find him on a lot of stuff as PropheticMemetics. But welcome, Winston. Welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I figured we would kick this thing off. You know, this is the first time we've talked long form. We've done a lot of talking on the interwebs. But just so you get kind of comfortable with what type of dudes me and Aaron are, I found a meme. And since you're like the OG godfather of memes, I figure we would just start off with this. So let's pull it up real quick.
Is it here on the Instagram? Oh, there we go. All right. You can see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So for the folks that are just watching at home, we're going to play a little game, right? So this is a meme. It's got four folks on it. Why serial killers? I can't talk tonight, man. Why serial killers always wear these glasses, though?
Yeah.
And so basically we got a quad chart here. Upper left-hand corner, Jeffrey Dahmer. Upper right-hand corner, George Bush Sr. Lower left, Bill Gates.
Kill Gates.
And lower right, Anthony Fauci. So I think what we should kind of do is play a little game of who wore them best.
Oh, we're not going to play Fuck, Marry, Kill?
No, man. We'll go who wore them best, right? So I actually responded to this on Instagram. So my personal pick, and it was a tie, but I went with like dead to rights numbers is George Bush Sr. because who has the most bodies.
Yeah,
stacked
That's
bodies.
what I was thinking. Right.
You got
okay.
Yeah, and that's the first thing I said when I saw it.
Yeah, and my close second. So I'll just round out my pick. So my pick for number one, George Bush Sr. I mean, we're talking about CIA director. Dog.
Well, and you got to hold his dumb kid. He gets his kids' bodies too. You know, like
that's progeny.
Puppet master of Junior
and a direct descendant of fucking Nazi collaborators.
Right.
So George Bush Sr. number one. I almost went Tony, but the numbers aren't in yet.
No,
you know,
still.
I got Tony as number two because it could be in the fucking billions. So Aaron, what do you got?
Well, you got to count. Yeah, I think we all agree that it's Senior, but Gates, you got to give Gates all the, like in our country, you know, people are annoyed by Gates and they're waking up to the fact that, you know, he's globalist, New World Order, you know, all this, but he's been killing people in India and Africa for a long time, to the point where he was subject of, like, I think the country of India, maybe you know more about it, Winston.
So Winston, you got
the fact checkers will be like, well, Bill Gates isn't being sued, but what really is a foundation or an organization that he funded is being sued because you got to give it to Gates, I think, because Gates is really over Fauci, and as you said, with all those body counts, and then he's got a lot more. There's a reason he's buying all the farmland and wants to blot out the sun and all that. Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's going to overtake. I think he'll overtake HW at some point.
Yeah, I was telling him the only honest criminal in that batch is Dahmer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he just kind of a soul. Dude, I was before. So Cody and I, you know, career military guys before we woke up to, you know, got hip to the skip or whatever, and then we were contractors for Department of Defense or for an organization called DITRA, and we were working together, and we were in an office. So we should just not specific about it, but we were in an office with a guy who was a government employee that worked with us, but he had previously been a CIA case officer, so he'd been at the farm and all that stuff. Yeah, really, you know, an intelligent guy, you know, a guy who you think would like have some sort of understanding about like how the world works, especially working as a case officer for the CIA. You get to see some of those guys, you know, some of those guys actually are just kind of doing like the nug work. Yeah, they're useful idiots. They're not actually like part of some grand conspiracy to do all the shit that CIA does. But we one day George Bush, the subject of the Bush family came up, and I started on my bullshit. I'm like, fuck those guys. You know, I'm still on the job, you know, so I'm
Dude,
still
this is in a high level office, by the way.
Yeah. But
Right.
you know, I was already, me and him were already, you were already gone by this point, but we'd run our mouth in there pretty frequently. And, but you know, everybody else in the office, I wasn't getting any pushback about because, you know, most people that are in the military are aware that, like, you know, the global war on terror was waged under these absolutely false pretenses as an illegal war, you know, and we were all fighting in it and stuff. This guy, when I brought up Bush's, it was like I attacked the patriarch of his own family, you know, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, you know. And he's like, yeah, George Bush Jr. was a little dumb, but these are good people. These are honest, you know, patriotic. Good. And I started to break down like the Bush family lineage and shit. And it was just one of those things where, you know, I'm sure you experience this type of thing where you try to explain stuff to people and you're not going to get anywhere. There's like, yeah, right. I mean, yeah. But
so that's a good segue. And now that everybody's kind of throwing out all the good keywords and know that we're all level on the playing field here. Like, so how I'm always interested to hear this from folks is, you know, I know a little bit about the backstory, having done some research, but if you could just maybe tell folks how you got, you know, started out and at what point, you know, the curtain was kind of raised for you and you were like, what the fuck? And then I guess at one point, like, you've done something about it. I mean, if anybody's ever done anything about what's going on, you've done something about it. So at what point did you kind of be like, you know what, I gotta take action?
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, I guess I'd always been a little different in the way I thought about things. Like even in high school, I kind of figured out like Republicans and Democrats just always they always claim their side did the good thing. And the reason they couldn't get their thing done was because the other side screwed it up. They both claimed that they were family values and they're getting arrested for stuff. So I kind of figured out even in high school, like these guys are kind of both full of shit. And, but I didn't really have any like really conspiracy kind of stuff until probably the JFK thing came out, you know, the JFK movie. I think that was in the 90s, 94 or whatever. And I didn't even buy into the movie, but I was just kind of like, wait, that's the government story that this bullet like floated in these directions. Yeah. Like, you know, I didn't know what, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But it was actually, I think it was late in 2005. There was this new thing called YouTube and there was no commercials at that time and there were no censorship algorithms.
Yeah,
and, I was just playing around.
Yeah,
it was, you know, it was new. Like I was trying to, I remember my girlfriend at the time was getting mad at me. She's like, "Why are you on that YouTube?" I was like, "I don't have to watch commercials. I can watch whatever I want, whenever I want." Like screw TV. Yeah, I was just having fun, and I just put in 9/11 videos, and and there was a thumbnail. I just wanted to see if there was a different view of it, and there was a thumbnail of people protesting, and I was like, "What the hell is that? Why would people like?" It didn't even make any sense to me. I'd never heard anything about it, and then I realized like there's all these PowerPoint presentations. There's the auditoriums full of people, and
9/11 engineers,
architects. Yeah, 9/11 revisited, architects and engineers for now. And luckily for me, that's one of the first things I found. I didn't find some guy in a basement, or you know, they were professionals and they were raising logical questions. And like I knew then, I was like, what in the hell? Why have I never heard about this? Like
were you already into construction? Sorry about that. Were you already into construction at that time?
Yeah, well, I actually, I used to build, I've done a lot of different construction. At that time, I was building swimming pools. So I actually had a lot of experience with steel and reinforced concrete. And so when they started getting into this stuff's crumbling like paper mache, like I had never really looked at it that way. The only thing that on 9/11 that made me curious was when 7 fell. And I was just like, oh, that's weird. But I didn't realize how big it was or what, you know, at the time they just kind of dismissed it and it was like, whatever. But when those professors, they start talking about the explosive energy, and I'm like, holy shit. And I realized like, how is it violating laws of physics and nature and motion?
Yeah.
And for me, like that night, I knew my life had changed. I was crying. It was like I relived the whole thing all over again. And all my family are first responders, cops and paramedics and firefighters. So it like really.
Okay, so you until you saw you know, that compelling video, you were completely inside the provided paradigm. You believe?
No, not completely. Even on the day that it happened, I was like, I knew they didn't kill us. They didn't come attack us because we wear blue jeans and listen to country music. Like, I knew that was bullshit. Like,
they hate us
we
for
were
our freedom.
doing something to make them mad enough to fly planes into buildings.
Yeah, right.
Like, obviously, we did something. I didn't know what it was, but I didn't believe that. But yeah, other than that, yeah, some crazy Muslims attacked us, and and the buildings fell, and then that's what happened. And
it is shocking when you. A lot of people, so I think we talk about a lot, like, what's the difference? How come some people are just like destined to be NPCs and not able to process this stuff? And I think some people, when confronted with the truth, it's like maybe a subconscious thing, or they don't have something in their makeup won't allow them to, confront the truth. But like, I was out of the Marines I got out for a couple years. I was out of the Marines as a civilian when 9/11 happened, and immediately it changed the whole entire course of my life. The next day I'm at the recruiting office, rejoining the Marine Corps, or trying to anyway. I had to lose weight first. But anyways, going back in the Marines, right? Where I would go on and spend the next 20 years fighting in these nonsense wars. So for me, when I saw those movies, I think the first one I saw was Zeitgeist, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like on a deployment in Afghanistan as part of this thing, and I'm watching this fucking Zeitgeist video on a laptop, and I'm like, you're in a weird mind space anyway when you're driving around fucking shooting people every day. So I'm already kind of like off kilter, but I was interested in like, and so Cody was too, but like already interested in like kind of like the pyramids and that type of alternative history type stuff, right? Like Graham Hancock type stuff, right? So I'm already kind of like in this, maybe we've been lied to about a lot of things. And then I see that, and it's like a mustard seed, like it gets in your head. And
well, I guess I'll come to that too.
Just for the record, for anybody who doesn't know, like that Zeitgeist 9/11 part 2, it's like the Zeitgeist, the original Zeitgeist, it's the second part. And that video part of just 9/11 is about 25 minutes maybe. And it is actually breaking down the official story. So it's not giving you a conspiracy. It's showing you this is what the government says happened. And then piece by piece. It's one of the best. If you've got 30 minutes of time, that's one of the best ones to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to touch upon your other point, as far as you were saying, like some people get it, some people don't. Man, I've spent 20 years contemplating that. Why am I different? Why? And especially when the Rona hit and people didn't understand what 99% mean. And I know they understand what that means, but something in their brain from the fear-based mind control and just the constant propaganda, like just erase their ability to comprehend that you're 99.74% fine. Like you're going to be okay. But they couldn't comprehend. And I mean, for months, I'm like, I've been surrounded by these people. Like I did not, even as all my years of experience, I did not understand how powerful that was until I saw it with my own 2 eyes and realized doctors and people that I know that are really intelligent are just totally swallowing this and have lost all reason and common sense. It's insane.
It's okay. It's okay. We jump around a little bit because our conversations do that sometimes on here.
Yeah.
But this is a good string to pull tonight because why not? Right. Like, I don't understand. I grew up a fucking juvenile delinquent, man. Nothing in my household would have been what you would have expected a guy doing what I'm doing right now to have led to, I was a pretty brutal materialist atheist in the fucking military, so take that for what it is. Like there's times where I'm like, I don't understand why the fuck I see this, man, and I'm just thankful that I luckily found this fucking dude to keep bouncing shit off. But so you've been doing this for a long time, dude. Like what do you have you come to an opinion about maybe what it is, why people can see it, why some people can't?
No, I just know that even people that can't see it at one point in time, eventually a lot of them will see it. Like, I mean, I had a guy recently, I went to a Cowboy Mouth concert about a year or so ago. And I had a guy come up to me and start apologizing to me. And I didn't even recognize him at first. And I had worked with him like 17 years before that. And he just came up and was like, you told me 10 years ago I'd come up and apologize to you one day. And I'm just here to apologize. And I was like, oh, Jake, what's up, dude? But I mean, it had actually been 17 years. But all those years have passed. And he was like, you were right, dude. You know what I mean? You were right. And so you know, as they tighten down and build their, you know, technocratic, you know, gulag that they're building, more and more people go, wait a minute, what the hell's going on? And the more they gaslight us, which is all they're doing. That's why they had change in narratives all the time. It's just all gaslighting. Just all be pissed off, be mad at each other, stay distracted, don't pay attention to the all-cause mortality. You know what I mean? Just keep hammering you with it. I mean, I don't give up on anybody because I've seen it happen. Like, yeah, you can be as stubborn as you want to be, but when your kid dies from a heart attack when he's 13 years old and you know you just gave him that shot, all of a sudden the shit ain't so funny anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
I think that's like your method. So memes, just start talking about memes a little bit. We've talked a lot about memes before too, just from a perspective of being fascinated by like what a meme actually is, like the memetic transfer of information, this thing that's like, you know, it's an alternative to like explicitly written information or something that's like, you know, it's almost like magical how these things work. And I don't really, you know, I was watching the Corbett report that you were on, and I hadn't heard before that it was Richard Dawkins that came up with the term meme back in the 70s. I don't like Richard Dawkins, but I will give him credit for the term meme. Like he nailed it. Like he's the first guy to conceptualize what that is. He's the one that actually named it. The word didn't exist before. Dawkins,
really?
Yeah, 100%. In his book.
You want to know a funny fact too? This is ironic. He came up with that word the year that I was born.
Oh wow, that's you know, that's weird? One of those things. That's a synchronicity. Like I think the world, the universe is more magical than our post enlightenment fucking the way we've been programmed to see everything in this like determinist, mechanistic nonsense way that we've been trained to see it. Even like religious people, like you go grab your average Christian out of a church and talk to him about synchronicities or something, or like actual miracles happen constantly that are just little small minor miracles, just something that we can't explain with our understanding of physics, and they'll think you're crazy. And it's like, dude, you're supposed to be. But anyways, the memes thing are great because it's a way of kind of sneaking this information or a perspective in, and it gets past people's like natural defenses. You know, like you're able to use humor, or you're able to piggyback a message on, you know, things that other people are already familiar with. Like, how did you first get into actually making memes? Were you like a big consumer of memes
No, I just ran different pages. And I was always looking for content. I started running pages back on MySpace, and then I knew Facebook was a government. Yeah, I knew Facebook was a government operation just because of the way they were. What's up?
LifeLog.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys switched here. I got confused. Yes, LifeLog. But well, see, I didn't know about LifeLog. I just knew that all of a sudden every TV show, every news station was like Facebook. And I was like, man, because they only do all that. If the media is all talking about it, it's because they're pushing it. And at that time, MySpace was blowing up. Like it was getting bigger and bigger. And MySpace compared to Facebook was like Lollapalooza and then going to Office Depot. Like Facebook. Right. But I knew that's where everybody was going. So I was like, all right, I'll go there. I was running different pages. I ran a BP page, got it taken down by BP. Ran Monsanto pages, Halliburton pages, stuff like that. And one day I had posted a link. It was about the wars, and it was a really well written one, and nobody paid attention to it. And I had just posted a meme in between. And I got frustrated and kind of started berating my audience about not doing their own research and not reading articles or watching a documentary. So I downloaded the meme app to make fun of memes. But then, yeah, the minute I did it, like all the pictures, like I knew what they should say. And it was like, and I had this control over my content that I'd never had. I could say what I wanted to say. And and it was just amazing. Like and I was just having fun. Like I was just having a lot of fun doing it. And I just see these pictures and I'd be like, oh, I know exactly what that should talk about the Federal Reserve. That should talk about that, you know. And I was just
you get like a feeling from the picture or something, right? That's why they're great because like, all right, so if I try to tell somebody just using my words and like the part of the problem with like truthers trying to wake people up is we're pretty fucking intense. And we're telling, like, we're attacking someone's whole paradigm basically when we tell them, like, hey, nobody ever went to the fucking moon, and they're like, so we're pretty intense about it, but like, if you can do something with, if you can show them a picture of Ron Burgundy, and now they're hearing everyone loves Anchorman.
Right.
They hear Ron Burgundy's voice, and then now they're consuming the information from the inside the, like, this other kind of place in their mind, and it's a way. I think it's a great. I've never made a meme. I've never even had like an idea for one. I'm not like a creative person, but
I didn't think I was a creative.
Meme. Yeah, well, you must have some sort of talent for matching the words, like you were just saying. Like, you get a feeling from the picture, right? You like look at a picture of whatever Ron Burgundy, and you're like, oh, that would be good with, that's a talent in and of itself.
Well, I thought about it a lot over the year when I became a professional meme lord, and I'm pretty sure that I'm the first person that ever did some of these things, which is, you think that there'd be some people would respect, some people do respect that, but there's still other people that mock me completely. But it's kind of a funny thing, because as I thought back, like, I always loved pictures. I was really into rap ever since like 1984 and Break-In came out. Like, I never stopped loving. Yeah, I never stopped loving rap.
Beach Street.
And then,
I was just naming other breakdancing movies. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, that Electric Boogaloo, all that fun stuff. But I always loved it. And then, I was really into comedy. Like, I really loved stand-up comedy, and I really loved jokes and stuff like that. And I always made my friends laugh. I would always get in trouble in class for making people laugh. And there was just all these little things that all fit. And I also, like, when I was younger, I just consumed pop culture. Like, when I was younger, there's only so many channels. I'd watch Nick at Night. So I even watched like a bunch of My Three Sons and like black and white stuff. And I just thought, so I was raised. I have all these references in my head that that I can pull on to, some little references made in some real political story, like what it was like 9 times, or like, so if you started with the first shots, right now you're on like your 9th shot. If you started with the very beginning, right? And I remember thinking like 9 times, and 9 times was from
9 times. Yeah, 9 times.
So I made a meme. Like,
that's exactly when you said 9 times. I thought he's been absent 9 times. Yeah, that's
so it's just all these weird little things that I had that perfectly fit into which I don't think is an accident, but it perfectly fit into what I was doing, And
I don't think there are accidents.
No, and I don't either. I think we're all connected, and I think I don't even, like, I've reached, like, there was a point where I was reaching 100 million people a week, and I've always said, like, damn, it wasn't me. It was like these. I'm like a conduit, and this stuff just flows into me. And like, sometimes I'm laughing at my own jokes, which my wife was like, "You got a good one, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm just
well. That's what they say about art, right? Like, an artist that's like able to, what you're doing is like you're making a path for some divine thing to come through, and it maybe oh my god, memes are divine, but because people, someone that's not willing to think about it deeper is just like, okay, memes are divine. It's like, well, no, hold on. Like, this is not about. It's about a transfer of information. Dude, I guarantee you that memes are probably more effective than anything else for getting people to reconsider their perspective about something like COVID or, the military industrial complex or whatever. Yep. You're talking about humor, like comedy, stand-up comedy. That makes perfect sense to me too, because until they ruined stand-up comedy, which it may come back, but they've done a pretty good job of turning it into like a bunch of safe, but before they made it safe, a comic's job was to stand up there and say shit that nobody else could say. Hey, this is, I'm up here with the mic, so I can say all this racist, sexist, homophobic shit. It's all in good fun. A crowd of people that are of mixed backgrounds and everything. This is our opportunity to laugh at each other. Yeah, it's fucking hilarious that Indian people act this way sometimes. It's hilarious that white people do this shit sometimes. You should have a way of getting that out. We all live together. We all have idiosyncrasies. You have to be able to celebrate that shit. But I think that's why they're throttling down on comedy and shit, because they don't want, and memes will be next. Like it's another whole conversation, but like, they're doing a pretty good job of, I don't think it'll be much longer before they make it very, very hard to do what you do,
I've said from the beginning, like, As soon as I realized the power that I had and the insane way that my work was spreading, I was like, they are not going to let me keep doing this. They're going to take me out. They're going to take my page out. There's no way they're going to let me keep reaching millions of people every day. I was going viral every day.
How much friction have you encountered? Like,
oh, dude.
bannings.
I mean, you name it, dude. I mean, I was part of the purge. You know about the purge?
The YouTube purge?
No, that all happened after us in 2018. In October of 2018, there was a coordinated effort. It happened on one day where the most influential pages on Facebook were all taken down on the same day. The most influential people, the most powerful pages that talk about our stuff, the Free Thought Project, the Press News, Anti-Media, and almost every page. Do you know who Ben Swan is, the reporter?
No.
He's an Emmy-winning reporter that he runs the Sovereign Network now. He actually did a report on it that was, of course, banned from YouTube or whatever. But he's the one who, you might know about this. He's the reporter that did the report on Pizzagate and then lost his job and they took him off social media.
Okay.
That's him.
All right.
So awesome. He did a report. Right. So he did a report on us being taken down or whatever. And what it was we were so influential that they sent us messages saying that we had to send our copies of our driver's license in to keep posting on Facebook. Like, I'm not sending my driver's copy of my driver's. You can kiss my ass, right? So we were all taken down on a coordinated effort on the exact same day. And when the purge happened, that pretty much killed the truth movement that was on social media from that. And then shortly after that was when Google and YouTube changed their algorithms. And then 1 year later, the first cases of COVID, because we were taken out in October of 2019, and the first cases of the coronavirus started in October 2020.
They were prepping the.
I'm sorry, we were taken out. And we were taken out 2018, and the first cases of the coronavirus were in October 2019. So literally 1 year after they took out the most powerful people that would have challenged the narrative, that's when the narrative started. So, and I mean, obviously you get your average normie, flack from challenging their Democrat or Republican puppet. But then, yes, there's also this other layer of social, like I'm constantly shadow banned. I'm one of the few people that makes memes that tells people, don't share the meme from my page. Take the meme and copy it and put it on your page. Like, I don't care about your likes. I just wanted to get out there. But if you share it from my page, you're not going to get any likes because it's not going to show up in their feed. So, all I've experienced is flack.
Yeah.
Was Ben Swan the guy that did the presentation on Pizzagate where it looked like it was like a professional news presentation? Like it was
a professional. He was on news in Atlanta. He was an Atlanta news anchor. He was the only news anchor on national TV that actually did a real report on 9/11. He actually, he was amazing. And then once he did the one on Pizzagate, and it was a totally rational. He wasn't making any kind of crazy jumps. He was just saying, this is what the FBI lists as symbols that pedophiles use. These are the symbols in this thing. Somebody should be taking a look at this. It was on the news. And that's why from that point in time on, he lost all of his social media and he ended up starting his own whole social media site. And he's been one of the few that really kept his integrity, a real journalist who really shows what it is. Here's the facts. Here's what it shows. So and he actually shared one of my memes one time too. And on top of that, Andy sent me $100 on Christmas. How cool was that?
That's cool,
dude. That makes a lot of sense because I do recall never seeing that guy again. I remember, a lot of the earlier truth stuff has that presentation in it, and it's very well done. And you're like, where the fuck did this guy go? And he just disappears. So, okay, cool. We'll check him out. Yeah,
he was on CBS News in Atlanta. And he won an Emmy. He's a great reporter, and he's still around. It's just he's throttled now, and it's it's harder to see his content.
We've been kicking around the idea of doing like a low-key live cast back on YouTube, because we got booted off there a while ago, but YouTube unfortunately is like the front street of media, but I was kicking around in my brain. I was like, we should do a live on YouTube and we should start with something low-key like Pizzagate. It's funny when you look at things because my brain works in like connecting disparate things together, right? I'm like autistic on pattern recognition because I used to disarm bombs, so it was like fucking like pattern recognition kind of will save your ass,
right?
But it's hilarious to me, like people will swear up and down that nothing like an elite pedophile ring like Pizzagate was talking to could exist, and now we got the Prince of motherfucking England has to come out of his pocket money to pay off a 17-year-old that he raped, and you're like, okay, folks, can we talk about Pizzagate again now? Because these motherfuckers are still running around.
Right.
It kind of seems like in the moment when it really matters, whatever the day is, doesn't want you talking about it. But after some time goes by, like we probably could talk about Pizzagate now, because it's like, it doesn't matter. We could say whatever we want about Pizzagate now, and it doesn't really matter,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the pedest is still in like public life, right?
But they've done their work. They've smeared
it enough where if you touch it now, you're just kind of the stupid. You're like, it's like talking about Sandy Hook. Like, you're one of those people now.
Yeah.
Even though if you do any investigation at all into Sandy Hook, you're going to find some problems with that story. I don't give a damn what happened to Alex Jones in that trial. That story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I don't care what they say.
I only looked at it once.
Feel like I know. I'm just saying, any legitimate look into that story doesn't make sense. But
I looked at it one time. Like when I guess I don't know why the fuck I looked into it, but the small pictures that I did see seemed problematic, right? Like it was like there was like waist high grass and shit. It was like it didn't look like an active school when I looked into it. For like,
we could spend half an hour just talking about the stuff that I researched that for months, and I don't jump right out and say something is a false flag. I don't take hardcore stances about this is Christ's act because I've learned over the years, like, you don't really know. It's really hard to say, I know for sure this happened. And when you talk like that, you better be damn true right about it. Otherwise you lose your credibility. So, I mean, for me, I've always just been like, hey, like with Sandy Hook thing right off the bat, I was like, hey, why was this guy in camouflage running behind the school being chased by cops? And there's video of it from a helicopter. And then they made up like 3 different stories for why. And like the last story I think was that he was there making gingerbread houses, and then he heard shooting. I swear to God, that was the story. He came there to make gingerbread houses with his kid, and then he heard shots, so he ran away. Like, so your kid's in a school getting shot at, and you're just happen to be dressed in all camo. I mean, there's video of it. I don't know if it exists anymore. Maybe they scrubbed it. At the time, there was video from a helicopter, and their story is like, and it kept changing. It was like, well, I don't know what happened. There's a bunch to it, but just like with something like that, like I don't say, huh?
I've come to realize that the frustrating thing is, for most people, the story can be completely absurd, and the mere fact that it comes to them through the official conduit is enough. Like for us, sometimes I'm like, man, is absolutely everything a lie? And then you get to the point where you're like, yeah, most things are, but for your average person, they're not even willing to entertain the idea that somebody's capable of deceiving them in that way. It's like the expression, it's easier to that's the one.
Yeah.
Well, it's because of their cognitive dissonance, and it's a self-defense mechanism. It's because your information will shatter their reality and everything they know. And even if they don't admit that, on some level, their brain knows, if I listen to what this dude's saying, everything I believe in is going to crumble. And some people, it's too much. And I remember talking to a therapist one time because I was having some trouble with my ex-wife. Didn't do any good. Should have got rid of that. But I remember at one point I was talking about cognitive dissonance. She was like, I have never heard someone explain cognitive dissonance as well as you do. Like, because I've been dealing with it. Like, I know it better than anybody because I see it in their eyes. Their eyes going, no, I don't want to believe that. And you can see their brain going, no, because they know you're telling the truth. But what I've also learned is they might argue with you at that moment. But I've been making memes like with my words long before I was making them like online. I was always debating this stuff, and I was debating it in Florida during the Bush administration when Jeb Bush was our governor. So I wasn't popular, and I was really good at like cutting to the root of the problem. And somebody would argue with me, and then like a year or so later, I talked to them again, and they'd say my exact words back to me. And sometimes they wouldn't even know it was my word. They'd be like, no, I always thought that. Like, no, you didn't. I remember arguing with you a year ago. You just repeated my thing. Like, I know you could, but at the time, they were just like, screw him. But that night when they laid down on the pillow, they were like, huh. You know what I mean?
So for folks that, you've got millions of views, right? Like maybe even tens of millions. Like it's hard to tell, right?
What, as far as all my memes?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was literally reaching 100 million people a week. And that was just the pages. That was just the pages that I could count. That doesn't include every other platform. That doesn't include everybody who took my meme and shared it on their page. Like the numbers are so high, it's not even. You can't even really. It sounds like I'm lying when I try to tell people that. They're like, yeah. But there's graphs and charts that they show on Facebook, and when you're on these pages, that when like I made one meme one time that was probably my biggest on one big post. I got 400,000 shares and like 1 million likes or whatever. That one meme, by their own outreach, 26 million people for just that one meme. So
the reason why I asked that is I want to put this into perspective for people. So Aaron and I, during our last gig, one of the last things we did for the military was information operations, right? Which is why we were so into this kind of thing.
Right.
Because we would be on teams, right? One of our gigs, right? Cross-functional type shit. But we would be on teams helping out information operators. These are information operators. These are United States military trained, specifically United States Special Operations Command trained dudes who are trained to influence target audiences, psychological operators, right? PSYOP dudes. Mm-hmm. Their fucking memes and their little ideas are so fucking horrible. And it takes like a team of them to craft like one fucking meme that they're going to send out, right? On behalf of the US government. This one meme has to go through like sometimes
a bunch of lawyers,
3 levels of fucking chains of command, lawyers, like Aaron's saying, that so they can make sure, dude, and they will brief as a massive success in their little update brief to the commander. If their fucking meme went out or their little message went out and it got like 27 shares, like a fucking like 500 likes or some shit. And they would be like, look, sir, we did it. We did a thing.
They would actually brief it. Yeah. They'd be like, 47 people shared this.
Really? Yeah. It's like,
it's
so.
But
you have out memed the entire U.S. fucking Department of Defense.
But the other problem with those dorks is they're trying to write memes from outside of the population group. They don't. Yeah. These are Americans that are in. So you're making these memes from inside the population group, and then like that saying, and I do believe it. That they say the left can't meme, and not that I'm like on the right or anything, but when I think of the left, I'm thinking of these like pro dystopia, pro regime. These are like just, and the shit that they put it's not funny. There's no humor. There's no nuance to it. There's no like skill. It's just like, okay, orange, orange man Trump's orange, and he's like,
he's got little hands.
Okay, yeah, you're great, good job, idiots. There's nothing clever about what most of those people are doing.
I think they both suck at memes, and the reason why is because neither of them are telling the truth. I mean, the reason why my memes resonate because they're true. Because I'm not. If I'm saying something that it resonates with people because there's truth in it, and as far as like the PSYOP thing goes, you'll find this interesting. That same ex, her sister worked for Army PSYOPs. Me and her didn't get along very well at all. We argued all the time about stuff. And yes, I totally believe that. And what was funny is one time we were talking, and I was talking about, I was like, you're just a paid liar. Like that's what you are. I was like, you just go into like Afghanistan, try to sell them your potent, your little package of bullshit, so you can take their opium and their uranium. I mean, and their oil and their lithium. And she was like, "Huh, you're the first civilian I ever heard talk about lithium." I was like, "I know, I'm your average civilian. Like, I know what the hell's going on." And so,
dude, it's so absurd. Just think about it for a second, right? Imagine, just flip it all around. Imagine that there was a foreign occupying army here in this country, and they show up at your house and try to like talk to you about why you should support your government that they're partnering with, or something. It's like when I was doing it, I had a different mindset, but I was like, why doesn't this motherfucker want us to build him a well? What's this guy's problem? Because we'd have to go into these villages and like have a powwow with the village elder and like, hey, look, we want you at great risk to yourself to tell us where the fucking Taliban are at, warn us when they're coming, help us fight the Taliban, and we're going to, fix your road and give you a well. And if you're a real good boy, we'll run some electricity out here or something. And all we got was like, fuck you from these people. You know what I mean? But now I totally get it. I'm like,
yeah, because down the road comes the tax collector.
It's crazy.
Down the fucking electrical line comes the surveillance. And
but we would get a script, a provided, not an actual verbatim script, but like
points.
Part of our mission brief was like, all right, when we talk to the populace, this is what we're going to hit. These are our like talking points. Like the government in Afghanistan is great. whatever the little list of shit was. And it didn't strike me as absurd then.
Dude, I'm so glad that you said the reason why the meme hits is because they're true. Because that's what keeps coming back to my brain is the that saying, and I'm just going to butcher it, but true genius is the ability to transfer the most complicated concept, simply to like a child. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I think real truth, and most people are like, fuck, moral relativists and shit. Like, real truth is extraordinarily simple. What goes up must come down. Like, it's always. Real truth is always like one answer or one sentence. Anytime anybody starts giving me a paragraph of shit, I'm like, okay, well, now I need to look at your grammar. Now I need to fucking look for logical fallacies. Now I need to, now I need to look for rhetoric, like,
yeah,
I didn't really have a plan for that.
No, it's all right. Well, I mean, it's interesting because it's like, there's an art to it too. And there's, sometimes I can put just one word too many in the meme and I screwed it up because there's a little flow to it. But ultimately, if I am saying, hey man, there's no way a guy who couldn't fly a Cessna pulled a Blue Angel maneuver into the bottom floor of the Pentagon without even scratching the grass, and you don't even have a video of it. Like, it might be one long run-on sentence, but at some point your brain goes, wait, what did he say? Hold on. And they go back and read. And then once I've made you read it 2 or 3 times, now that thing's in your brain. I actually thought, when I was going to talk to you guys, I thought about a story earlier today, since you guys are former military. Well, this girl I used to hang out with, she had a new boyfriend. I was going out to the beach to meet him, shoot shit with him. And as we were talking, he's like, I think he was joining the Army. And I had just watched Beyond Treason and Why We Fight. Like, literally had just watched Why We Fight the night before. So he starts going into like, I'm going to Iraq. So I start breaking down, well, here's what Iraq's like. And we start getting into, like, to the point where we're about to come to blows, right? And so I don't see that guy again for like a year or two. Him and that girl stay together. And then about a year or 2 later, he comes back from being deployed and stuff. And the first thing he does when he saw me is he walked up, shook my hand. He's like, sorry, man. I understand now. Like, you were trying to warn me. Because I've been talking about KBR and Halliburton and Blackwater. And he was like, you were right, dude. I was like, yeah. He's like, you were just trying to help me. I was like, yeah. But his recruiter hadn't told him that shit. So I just sounded like a nut job. But when he saw it, and I appreciate y'all having me on, because a lot of people think, like, because I'm anti-war, that I'm against the troops. And like, but veterans understand, like, nah, that dude's fighting for me, because you can't question your orders. It's my job to question your orders. It's my job to say, why are you sending my troops over to this country? What are you doing? Why are they putting their lives being put at risk? That's my duty. If I'm not serving, is to back you up, not to just blank check every fucking war and just be like, oh, well, right. I like the guy with the blue tie, so I don't care if he bombs 7 countries in 8 years. Like when I first started, it was Republicans doing all the bombing.
Yeah,
and I was all these Democrats were on my side. Soon as Obama came in office, like the whole anti-war movement just disappeared. Like, where'd y'all go?
Isn't it funny how pro-war both sides are now? We got into it with people, from our Marine community and stuff over the Ukraine thing. And I consider anybody that's pro-war to be completely psychotic at this point. Like, and I feel pretty empowered to speak out against war, having been in tons of, like, I mean, this was all, we were in every second of the global war on terror, both of us, multiple combat deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah,
multiple trips over there as contractors. So I'm telling people, like, look, now there's reasons why there are, moral reasons to pick up arms, right? Like, so if somebody's coming here to attack us, kill our families, interrupt our way of life, or something like this, some sort of obvious moral requirement to use force against people, then sure. Then inside that paradigm, all the cool rah bravery troops stuff all applies, right? But what people don't want to hear is that our military for a long time now has been used as a method of keeping this debt-based Ponzi scheme of an economy going, among other things. Getting resources, keeping the military industrial complex occupied,
money laundering. This rules-based international order that they keep squawking about is this stuff is, once you see it, it's so absurd that it's like they've inverted absolutely everything. It's the whole war is peace thing, like, it's so inverted that
like the Ukraine thing and this shit in Israel right now, it's like amazing to me that there's anybody that they make this justification for killing all those Palestinian women and kids. They do it. They go, well, they're human shields, so it's Hamas's fault. And it's like, no, there's not 30,000 human shields. You're a moron. It's absurd.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it is one of the most densely packed places on earth, and half of the population are women and children. And then they drop these giant bombs in, and then they're like, oh, their kids died because they were putting their kids up in the air. Like, I guess if you have the most rudimentary, elementary, like, understanding of the world, you believe that. But parents are parents. People are people. Like, as much as we like to, oh, man, these brown people, they're Muslims. Or human beings are human beings for the most part. Yes, there's terrible people in Pakistan and in Somalia, but there's also terrible people in Detroit and in my town right now. But no, parents don't put their kids in front of bullets. Like, they just don't. And the whole thing is controlled by this Zionist. And if you talk about Israel, you're immediately anti-Semitic, which is this fantastic defense mechanism they have where they can avoid any kind of ridicule or any kind of like condemnation of their actions, even though what they're committing is beyond genocide. Now it is to a Holocaust. If you're just wiping every single person off, if they have 36 hospitals and you bomb all 36 hospitals, you didn't do it on accident. You're committing war crimes. And you don't just get to say, hey, a long time ago, there was this terrible thing that happened to us. I mean, it would be like if L. Ron Hubbard like wrote a book and he's like, hey, Scientologists are entitled to Flagstaff. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're going to kill everybody in Flagstaff. Like, I don't care if you're a Jew or you're a Scientologist. Like, you don't have the right because of your book to come take somebody's house and bulldoze it and kill them. Like, it's just wrong. If it's just wrong, period. It doesn't matter what your religion is, what their religion is, you know?
I think Candace Owens is part of some, controlled opposition. Any kind of big media person I'm obviously like skeptical of, but I watched something very interesting with her the other day. She has this this kind of ongoing beef with that Rabbi Shmuley guy, the one that's fucking horrible. So she has this other rabbi on her show to like have a conversation about her battle with Rabbi Shmuley and her being outspoken against Zionism and all this stuff. And this other rabbi guy, he's, trying to castigate her for all her anti-Semitism and everything. And now Candace Owens is very sharp. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to argue with that lady. So they're kind of going back and forth. And she's like, no, the things that I'm saying are not anti-Semitic. I'm not saying that. I'm saying things against Zionism. And he goes on to explain to her how the two, they're
inextricable.
They're right. So you can't.
Inseparable? No, they're not. They are definitely separable.
He was trying to make the case that he was trying to make the case that Zionism, the definition for anti-Semitism per all the obviously Jewish scholars and everything, they all agree that the word he uses that it morphs. The definition for anti-Semitism morphs. Like, it basically can be adapted to fit whatever they want. That's
how you know it's not true, because the truth doesn't morph, and that goes back to the memes. I mean, it's truth does not fucking morph. That's that 1 + 1 = 2, not fucking 2 + 2 = 5.
But I just can't believe they're getting away with it right now. And it's like the truth is being shown about our government too, because now like the people in our country don't want the genocide to continue, and our government has to pretend like they're trying to stop Israel, but we apparently have no leverage. We can't get them to stop shit. And so then you wonder, well, how'd that happen? How does this Zionist government have so much influence on our government? And like you said, as soon as you start asking those questions, they go, anti-Semitism. Why are you trying to turn this into soap again? And it's like, not.
Well, it's, well, you start asking questions like, what about the dancing Israelis on 9/11? What about the
dancing Jews on 9/11?
What about the USS Liberty? Well, I mean, they were arrested on dancing on the George Washington and went on Israeli television and said they were there to document the event. How'd you know the event was going to happen? I mean, there's there's so much evidence. Like so many people within our government are Israeli dual citizens. I don't think you should be a dual citizen of any country and be in our government. I don't care if you're a dual Canadian citizen. You should just be an American citizen. If you're going to be deciding our policies, and especially our foreign policy, I don't want you to have allegiance to another country. I want you to be worried about our country, and let you focus on our things. And yes, who owns both sides of the aisle? AIPAC. If you say anything to speak out against Israel, they will fund whoever candidate opposes you, and they will get them in there. You have to swear an allegiance to Israel. We pay for their health care. We pay for their college education.
We pay for their Iron Dome.
It's insane. Yeah, it doesn't even work. It doesn't even work.
No, that thing's fake. It's them shooting up a bunch of bottle rockets and shit. Like, we know a thing or two about, military weapon systems and stuff. When I watch this Iron Dome stuff, that doesn't look to me like ballistic missiles being exchanged. It looks like nonsense.
Dude, I think their success rate is like 1%. I swear, if you look at their actual success rate, I forget, it was under 10% of anything that they intercept. And they spent millions and millions of dollars, and it was less than 10%. Like they missed.
I'm saying that I don't even think Hamas is shooting anywhere near the amount of rockets Israelis claim. I think the Israelis are just winging a bunch of bullshit up in the air.
Right.
Yeah, I think as soon as the surrounding militaries decide to overwhelm that, it will be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Well, just like all the beheaded babies and hang gliders and all that.
No evidence.
You know what I mean? As soon as you look at it, like what really happened, like the Israeli people, they were, what is it, the Hannibal Directive, where they were shooting their own people from the helicopters, and now those people are suing them. But they didn't say that in the news, did they? They're just like, oh no, it's the crazy Muslims. Like, and I don't. Go ahead.
If you're on Twitter, you see it's pretty amazing to me how how the claws come out. Like when anybody challenges any of this Israel stuff, the congressmen and senators in our own government on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, it's like you see the way they tweet. It's like they seem actually angry. They're and I don't really, aside from the fact that AIPAC is like funding their campaigns and all that, you got an interesting thing because both the Jews, of which there are many in our government, and the evangelical Christians have this shared end times eschatology that it's like, and it's weird that the two are in league with it, because one, like the Jewish one, is like, well, we eventually become their slaves or something when they're going to kill their red heifer and all that. But it's like the evangelicals are on the same page as those guys in a weird way.
Well, I'm from the South, and in the South, you're raised like we stand with Israel. Like every time something goes on, there's a bunch of and where I'm at in the South was actually supposedly in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most churches per capita. So I am in the Bible Belt South, and
you're in the buckle.
Where are you at?
Northwest Florida.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's just beaten into your head that, you're supposed to always stand with Israel. And I did. And I thought the same thing. Like I remember being on MySpace, and there was a dude named ProThink, and he would post all this stuff. But he would post this Israeli stuff one time. And I was like, so one time I was like, hey man, like you kind of seem like you're anti-Semitic. And he handed my ass to me, dude. And I already knew a bunch of stuff. So he starts connecting. He's like, who's this? Who's this? Who runs this? What's this? And I was like, oh shit. And I don't know this stuff because I'm a genius. I know this stuff because I'm willing to lose a debate and go, hey, good point, man. Better information. You had better facts. I'll rethink what I was thinking. And then maybe you're still wrong. And maybe I'll do more research and I'll come back at you. But you have to be willing to go, oh, maybe I was wrong. And this guy just showed me real quick, like, hey man, take a deeper look at what you're saying before you just assume that I'm some kind of bigot. And, and usually if you're doing this type of work, and you know how it is, like people want to be accepted. So you don't like being made fun of. You don't like being called crazy. Crazy is one of the most dismissive things, but so is anti-Semitic. Like immediately you're just like, oh, you're just a bigot. It's like, man, I don't think that way. I don't roll that way, man. Like you're welcome to believe whatever you want to believe. I agree with the non-aggressive principle. Don't hurt people. Don't take their shit. You believe whatever you want to believe. If you show just the basic respect that you don't have all the answers to the universe, and if we just show each other that respect, that you're allowed to believe what you believe and I believe what we can have an amazing conversation about religion. It can believe completely different things. If we just show each other the respect of admitting that we don't have the answers and you have the right to believe what you believe, we can have great discussions.
And the problem with these claims of bigotry and stuff, especially with the Zionism thing, it's like most of the most of the worst perpetrators of these Jewish guys are secular Jews. They're not, these are not religiously observant people. And so
I don't think they're even. I don't think any of these people are Christians or Jews. I think they're devil worshiping scumbags.
I
I think
100%.
I don't even think, even if they don't worship, like they're still just agnostic or atheist, and they just use that as a front to cover their evil shit. But I don't believe their God is gold, oil, and drugs. That's their God.
There it is. Boom. That's it. Everybody worships something, and you can tell what it is by their behavior. You know, you're known by your fruits, right? So you know, if the fruits of your endeavors are, you know, you've turned Gaza into powder and there's 30,000 dead women and children, then I don't care what your rationalization is, you know,
or if you own every central bank and people are starving and can't fucking pay their bills and shit. Like it's, it's, I think that does kind of break it into, I guess not really what can be done about it, but, you know, what to do, I guess, but
yeah, I mean, how you're a truther. So like, you know, your truthers are in the position of kind of having information that everybody should have, but other people reject. Like, so given what you know about the world and how it works, are you doing anything proactive to prepare for the future based on what you know?
Well, I had a certain amount of faith that my mom was going to come around at some point. She's a clinical educator. She's a nurse that teaches nursing. And for about 3 months when COVID first broke, and the Epstein stuff first broke, she knew I had been making memes about Epstein before anybody had even heard of him. And so there's a point where she was like, wow, you always said they were a bunch of pedophiles. And like, you know, and then when the Corona stuff happened, she was approaching it rationally. So she was like, this mask thing is stupid. Like she knew better. She knew that, you know, you can't hide from a virus with a bandana. Like she's been running ERs her whole life. You know how the flu works. And so for a few months, man, she was, you know, she was real supportive and stuff. And like, well, not so much super supportive, but just, she understood what was going on. And then, unfortunately, she made a post, and I think at some point she realized like if she kept going, she was going to lose her job. She teaches, you know what I mean? She's worked her way up to being a professor from an EMT. You know, her whole life has been about this. And so all of a sudden it went back to, you know, I'm crazy. And she hasn't talked to me since 2020 because I won't have a relationship with her. Yeah, because I just wanted to, because see, here's the thing, and this is something I wanted to tell you too. I always like to talk about this meme. I made a meme on April 5th, 2020, where I showed that the flu and pneumonia had vanished. Now she knows that, and she knows the flu and pneumonia didn't really vanish, but she knows if she has to admit that her dumbass son scooped every health and every news organization, that she has to admit that I've been right this whole time. And that means her whole reality crumbles. So rather than acknowledge that, she just doesn't want to ever talk to me about it ever again. And I'm not going to do that. But so I do have alternative plans that I've made. I always kind of hoped that I would be with my family, but I've kind of given up on that at this point. And you know, the best I can do, however, I'm me. And some people are going to get to go to a FEMA camp. Do I get to go to the FEMA camp? I don't know. I don't know that I'm not already like, I know for sure that with that purge and with the research that's been done, like I was targeted by the very top. Like that's White House stuff that came down. I'm on that list. So I don't even know how that turns out for me, bud. But I know this, like, I believe in God. Like you can call it whatever you want. I don't beat people over the head with my belief, but I do believe we're all connected. I believe I was put here to do this. I believe that's why my voice was amplified. I don't think I did it because I'm so great. I think I'm this conduit to do this. This is the right battle. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I just keep trying to do the right thing, try to follow my own path, and whatever happens is in God's hands. I don't have control over that. I try not to spend my time thinking about that or worrying about that. I try to just do my work and enjoy my life, enjoy my kids, have a good time, and whatever happens, happens. I mean, it's like you stockpile a bunch of guns, and then what happens? Like you're going to shoot it out with the SWAT team with your kids in the house. Like you have to really think this stuff through. And at a certain point, it's like I do the best I can do to prepare, but then that's part of it too. What do you prepare for? Do you prepare for a grid collapse? Right. Do you prepare for some kind of mini? Do you prepare to bunker in place, or do you have to go be on the run? Like when you really start examining this stuff, man, you better have a lot of money and a lot of resources to try to plan for the 75 things that can happen.
Well, so, think about this way, because I agree. The preparing for some sort of catastrophe or whatever is one thing, and you're 100% right. Like you can't possibly cover on all the possible scenarios for which you would have to prepare. But so like what you can do like kind of our perspective a little bit. I mean, we do, we are preparing for things, but it's more like instead of a preparing for a situation, it's a reorientation towards how you might go about living, right? So like part of the thing that makes me personally uncomfortable is how dependent I am on this system, which is objectively evil for everything, dude, everything I eat, all my, so we've become these dependent babies or whatever. Well, it's like, I don't have much room to complain if, I'm standing there with my hand out. Right. So, okay. Work towards reducing dependence, live on a more natural life. And then, like you can look to some of these other communities, like the Amish, for example, who have managed to be like the Christian saying, be in the world, but not of it. Right. So I'm not saying people should be on Amish and we're churning butter and we don't have electricity or whatever, but they've managed so far. We'll see what happens to them in the long run, but they've managed to kind of maintain a lifestyle. They're in Babylon. That's the way they see it. They're in Babylon, dude. We can't so there's got to be some version of that where you can go into the future with your eyes open and by the way that you live, maybe maintain some of your freedom. But I don't know. That might just be wishful thinking, but
I mean, I would say this, like I'm certainly, I've had multiple plans along, like as I've, grown and learned and stuff, like I've realized like, okay, well, this is my plan for this and this is my plan for that. But my ultimate plan is like, hey, why don't we just try our very best to wake up as many people as possible so we don't have to have solar panels and water supply. And that might not work, but until that happens, until it's just too late, like I think the only way out of this is waking people up. I don't think, because even that, the Amish, okay, they're okay until they go on with their plan, which is everybody's jammed into these 15-minute gulags and nobody's allowed to live out on the farm.
That's
anymore.
What I'm saying. We'll see. Like, yeah, they're only okay because they've been left alone.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
The problem is
the drones over your little anarchist oasis. It's over.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I've gotten into stuff with people about Bitcoin. And it's like, bro, I'm glad that it works for you and that's awesome or whatever. But this idea that it's like foolproof, it's like, bro, the minute that they say it's illegal, you're done. As soon as they just say this terrorist event happened and Bitcoin funded it, and the terrorists are using Bitcoin, you're done. You're not going to be able to use it no more. All these companies that used to take your Bitcoin ain't going to take it no more. Again, it's nothing against Bitcoin. I'm just saying, like, all of these alternative things, they only work if we take out this power structure of occult scumbags who are controlling everything and driving us into this new world order nonsense and this one world currency and this digital chip. What's funny is when I first started talking about the chip back during the Bush administration, like my pastor looked at me like I was going out of my mind. And I was I was talking about Bigfoot. Like he just was not listening to me at all. I was like, look, they already make it. IBM makes it. They're already injected it in people's hands. They were already doing that back then. And so what was funny was like the last time when I was going to churches here recently, over and over, I was trying out these different churches to see how they were. Over and over, they're like, Bill Gates wants you to eat bugs. They're trying to stick a chip in you. Like all of a sudden, all these pastors now are talking about the same thing I was talking about. So there is an awakening going on. There is a part that's just moving, is gathering steam, and that's why they're getting more and more worried about us and getting, if what I did didn't matter, why do they work so hard to silence me all the time? Why am I always being throttled? Why am I always being kicked off? If it's pointless and hopeless, why are they worried about me at all? Why don't they just let me post?
Right.
I think I think you're correct, and I think one of the most powerful weapons against people that consider themselves to be in high positions is ridicule. And memes are fantastic at fucking ridicule, man. And more people. The sad part is, well, there's a couple points to this. Number one is we live in an aggregate society, so everybody is correct that you can't continue a moral existence if the aggregate is immoral, because the aggregate is going to fucking come for you. That's just is what it is, right? Like it's the other thing is I think it's way past the time for people to start fucking talking. And you've kind of said this before, where, hey, like start an anonymous page, take your stuff and just start blasting it out there, man. You don't have to put your face on there. I mean, it's hilarious to me nowadays that people are like, oh, well, I have a job I'm going to lose. I'm like, bro, you're going to lose your fucking life. You're going to lose your freedom. What are you talking about? It's, I think people need to start ridiculing shit. Like it's, if you're not into, fucking the sexualization of kids, you need to be blasting that shit out, man. It's like, I mean, it's cool to listen to the three of us, you know, but the three of us all know a couple hundred people who would probably agree with us. It's like, okay, well, so why aren't all 300 of you? Like, why isn't the aggregate growing? You know, it ain't enough to listen to us and agree with us. You know, you got to.
It is growing though.
Yeah,
it is. It is growing. It's hard to see because I don't know how long. Like you guys were serving and all this stuff, but I've been doing this for 20 years, dude. It is totally different than it used to be. Like I never thought I'd have a clothing deal. Like I'm almost 50. I'm pushing 50, dude. I have a clothing deal. Like that's something I thought about when I was like skating and surfing. Like that'd be cool. And like that dude sends me clothes just to make memes and like talk about stuff. Like it is growing and it is powerful. And the truth has this way of spreading and growing, and it's really a beautiful thing, and that's why they want to stop us so bad. That's why they keep stomping on our pages, and that's why it's so important that we keep doing it. I mean, you know, this idea of like, oh, well, I don't want to offend my friends and family. I have fought this battle the whole time, like my life depends on it, because it does. Like my kids' lives depend on it, because they do. I'd always tell my friends, they'd be like, why do you keep pushing this so bad? I'm like, okay, man, because we're from the South. I'm like, all right, look at it this way, like. You live in New Orleans. I got access to the Weather Channel, and I'm telling you, Katrina's coming. Now, if I just tell you one time and you ignore me, what kind of friend am I? I know the levees are going to break, bro. I know you're going to get flooded out. All I'm telling you to do is watch the Weather Channel. I'm not telling you to take my word for it. I'm just telling you watch the damn Weather Channel. And if I'm your friend, I'm gonna keep telling you that shit to try to save your life. And if you reject me as a friend for doing that, and I guess you weren't a very good friend. But if I kept my mouth shut, I'm not a good friend. If there's some clown next door, if there's some clown next door and you think he's awesome, but I know he's John Wayne Gacy, how many times should I keep trying to tell you, watch out for this son bitch? Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's pretty awesome, man.
All right.
I told you I got my little word memes that I got.
Yeah, it's well, you know what? Oddly enough, Aaron and I used to teach a class on information operations before we fucking left, and we basically wrote the thing. I mean, we stole a little bit of it from another unit, then we kind of repurposed it for our own purpose, and we were teaching the folks at our unit how to do information operations, and then like we would go home and do this fucking show, right? But I was thinking about it one of the times, and I think I used it as an example to the people in the audience there at that class, which was like, look, man, you go into the grocery store and you buy 95% like lean beef or whatever, right? Like that label could just as likely say 5% fat, and you fucking wouldn't buy it, right? It's like it's just all like that little like 85% is 15% fat. Nobody's gonna go in there like, hey, honey, stop by the fucking store and buy me 15% fat fucking cow meat, right? Like, it's just that little twist, man. And that goes back to that 99% you're talking about. And it is good to hear from a dude who's been in the trenches for as long as you have, that the landscape is different now, and you are positive about it, you know, because I would guess as like sort of mid-level fucking dudes, you know, like I'll speak for myself, man. I'm a black pilled motherfucker, man. Like, well, not particularly. The black pill led me back to like the light, led me back to like spirituality. So it's like, you know, but it is good to hear from you, man, that it looks different to you now than it did when you started slugging it out.
It's a million times different, man. It's a million times different. And that's part of the thing too, man. They want you to feel black pilled. They want you to feel like hopeless. And maybe we can't beat these guys. I don't know. Maybe we won't win, but we fought the fight, right? Like we did the right thing. Like my kids ain't going to be like, I wonder why my dad didn't do nothing. My kids are going to know my dad did something about it. And again, man, like if what we were doing is pointless and hopeless, why are they spending millions and millions of dollars to silence us?
It's definitely not. It's definitely not, because
Can I say one thing real quick? Because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I want you to contemplate this idea. So we know like there's a committee of 300, there's Davos, there's all these groups, right? But then amongst that same thing, on the opposite side, there's us. There's this collective of hardcore people, hundreds of them, I guess, you know, maybe 1,000, almost the same equal number, right? It's probably pretty close to around the number of people who actually pull strings and the number of people who are hardcore influencers. And we're all battling over the same group of people. But we got this one powerful thing. We're telling the truth. We got God on our side. because they're evil and what they're doing is wrong. And that in the end, I believe it wins. Maybe we don't see that come to fruition, but we are doing the right thing. This is the right battle to fight. You either are against like kids being bombed and tortured, or there's just something fucking wrong with you. Yeah. So I know I'm on the right side of this battle.
Your point,
they know that we're effective. That's why they hate us.
Well, to your point, it takes an immense amount of energy and resources and shit for them to do what they're doing. It's like a whole thing, right? But to tell the truth, it's like the latent state of reality is the truth, right? And these guys, it's like they say about evil, that it's all they can do is like invert. They can't create, right? They can just take what exists and change it and shit. So like the onus is on them. They're the ones that are pushing the fucking rock up the hill, like it's that they have the hard job.
Yeah, and all we have to do is keep going. Hey, look what they're doing. Look what they're doing.
These dickheads. More and more people, want them doing this
and
shit?
People are searching. They're searching for people going, hey, what? Because they know, like, what is going on in my world today?
Yeah, why are things starting to suck?
Yeah. And they come across somebody like us is going, I'll tell you exactly what's going on. And I'll show you the links that will prove exactly what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to take my word for it. I'll show you powerful people from 100 years ago telling you there's this secret cabal of people hiding behind the scenes, pulling the strings. And they don't even just hide behind the scenes anymore. Now they make speeches about the damn shit. They write books about it. And all you got to do is read the damn book. Listen to the speech. Well, listen to me. Just unplug your head from your ass and take a look at what I'm trying to show you, and your whole life will change.
And like use your discernment. Like take a deep breath in, calm down for a minute. Look at these motherfuckers. They're weirdos, dude. Like, just look at any of these people that are doing any of this shit. Just observe them. We'd be like, if that person was in your actual environment, if you were standing next to that person in the Dollar General and they were talking like that, wouldn't you?
Like Nadler.
These people are freaks. Yeah, they're like they're weirdos.
I've said that over and over. Like, why are we letting Bill Gates? Nobody elected Bill Gates. I will slap the dog shit out of Bill Gates. Like, you ain't telling me to do nothing, nerd. Like, why is this guy in charge of my life? Klaus Schwab, kick your old ass down the steps, man. Well, you ain't gonna do shit. Like, why are we scared of these people?
Yeah, it amazes me how fucking cucked out Americans are to Europeans nowadays. We killed these people to get away from them. Right. And now everybody's like, oh, we want to be friends with England. Like, yo, man, didn't we murder them by the thousands to fucking get away from them? And now it's like, well, no, we should have close ties with all these other people. It's like, no, man, we murdered the French, we killed the Spaniards, we fucking killed everybody.
It's like
keep them away.
When Americans are interested in the royal families coming and going, they're like, they're vampires. They're like actual vampires.
Well, they're sex pests for sure. I make no claims about them being vampires. I know for sure.
No, they're tied to the. No, I'm screwing.
Oh yeah, Vlad the Imperial.
Yeah, they're like their lineage is like.
That's true too as well. Yeah, they're. I mean, when
they're all German
eugenics, that's the funny thing is like one of the memes I made was that sad clown. Like when you realize that the science you trusted was actually eugenics. Like that's what these people don't understand that like this old school science of eugenics, quote unquote science, is what you're actually listening to. And it's like the same, like with the vaccines, right? We were talking earlier about how Bill Gates, like, killed all these kids and injured all these kids, like in India and in Africa. Well, what happens when we've created this epidemic of autism, which we now have? We don't care nothing about that. Nobody's wearing a mask for autism, but I know so many kids that are going through that shit.
Weird,
what's the eugenics long-term solution to people with autism? What does history tell us? That's exactly right. So they've created this epidemic of kids that later they're going to be like, we can't really have those people around. Like that's why I say
the autism's a weird one. And this isn't my original thought. I can't remember who I heard talking about this, but like the practical use for people with autism is like they have this, scaled back interest in any kind of social shit. And they're like perfect for, focusing on a task. It's like they're growing the people that they're going to need to just interact with the machines. You know what I mean? Like these are people that they're not social. They have this like Asperger's type shit where it's like, hey, all we really need this person for is to fucking polish the robot or whatever. It's weird. It's a strange coincidence that all of a sudden we have a bunch of these people that are kind of seem perfectly suited for interacting with AI or computers
and not humans.
Yeah, weird. I don't know.
Looking at your aggregate of knowledge, I mean, we all probably look at the same source material, but you know, what is your looking at what's going on and sort of the strings that are being pulled right now? I mean, some of the shit's kind of obvious, but you know, how do you kind of what's your swag for like the next 8 months? For some reason, the US election seems to be the Wizard World Series. It seems to be the linchpin to which a lot of fuckery gets attached, you know? So we're coming into like home plate here, you know, what do you see happening in the next 8 months?
Well, I mean, every damn 4 years, they're like, we're not going to have an election. I've been hearing that shit for 20 years. You know, the elections are all, you know, obviously they're all just one puppet after another. There's nothing to that.
Yes.
I think the thing I'm probably most worried about at this point is just the impending economic doom that's kind of inevitable when you print money like it's going out of style and kill everybody's small business, you know, and of course, Biden takes all the blame for that as if Trump wasn't in charge during 2020 when all that money was
absurd.
You know what I mean? Like they have just this
or as if Biden's even making any decisions. He's just
he can't even tie his own shoes. Like that guy's not making any. And Trump was golfing all the time. Like you know, they're not really in charge. So I don't care about that part. But I worry about what they're going to use to try to blame the economic collapse on. Because for instance, like they knew the bubble was coming anyway, and they just blamed it on this man-made bullshit that they pushed with Corona. But is there going to be some type of grid collapse? Is there going to be some type of you know, I think Operation Bluebeam's a little out there as far as like, but they
I don't think the people are ready for that yet. They've been trying to, you know, condition the environment with all their little alien, you know, all of a sudden every other podcast is some whistleblower that, you know, was at Skinwalker Ranch or something. And it's like, all right.
This is what I find interesting is that ever since 9/11, we were all guessing like, what's the next big thing going to be, right? There's lots of little false flags that happen in PSYOPs, but what was the next big thing going to be? I'm telling you, man, I've seen one video of one guy who actually realized when they changed the way they classified pandemics in 2005 that they could use it as, but not one time did I ever hear anybody say, hey, I think they're going to make a fake pandemic. So even after all of us, for all of our years wondering what it could be, not one person I ever talked to said, they're going to pretend that the common cold is the zombie flu and it's going to work. So our ability to predict it is, I think, in fact, I actually think that if we get onto something, like if we see some potential false flag coming, I think we've made them cancel events before. And there's Olaf Sonegard. I think we put so much attention on things at times that they knew like, oh, we can't do this one right now. They're on.
I know for a fact Obama was trying to get a war going in Syria. And basically people like paid too much attention on the internet and waved it off we eventually got there. But I mean,
it was that CNN chick smelling weapons.
I will never forget that day because I was a hardcore anti-war activist. And he was basically telling people, you should go on YouTube and look at the videos and then let me go to war. I was like, wait, are you telling people that they should go watch YouTube video? Like, I'm not supposed to tell people to watch YouTube videos, but you're going to use some YouTube videos to start a war. And I remember going on my local page, getting ready to argue with all the dumb, let's carpet bomb people. But you saw the most amazing thing. And I was so happy. All these people were like, wait, why are we going to start another war? And I was like, wait, they're getting it? They're getting it.
Yep.
And then what happened? Boom, ISIS. All of a sudden, within months, there's these dudes with these new Toyotas riding through the desert in their ninja pajamas. And I was like, what in the hell is this? And I started laughing when I saw ISIS. I was like, wow, they got brand new Toyotas and ninja outfits.
They got
been fighting
4K video,
20 years.
4K video of 8-year-olds like executing people.
Yeah.
They've got lowering people into shark tanks and shit.
They got
like,
Wag the dog.
Right. And just in time, dude. And just like that, I go back in the comments and it's let's carpet bomb them. It worked perfectly. Just like that. There's another boogeyman. Let's go get him. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're really good at tricking the hell out of people unless you're smart enough to realize like, wait, where did these guys get all this stuff? And they're doing parades in the desert when there's drones everywhere and nobody like, you know how stupid that is like you guys know you do like, come on, dude, you're not counterinsurgents aren't doing a parade in brand new Toyotas. Like this just so stupid. It's not even like, oh my God. But
and by the way, that bullshit ass de-ISIS campaign is still going because those 3 troops that got smoked in Jordan during this a couple months ago or whatnot, like, you know, it reason there that they're there in support of the de-ISIS mission. You're like, what the fuck? I thought we beat them. It's 2024. You know,
that
like,
goes back to, you don't really have to tell the people. You can just basically say words.
Yeah, people are fucking.
Yeah, people are. They don't think, you know, like, wait, de-ISIS, like, yeah,
it's a scary brown guy. You better get your bombs ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think they've got to be in somewhat of a panic mode, though, because I don't know, just from my observation, like they're not getting as much mileage out of their bullshit like this. They definitely have had a lot of trouble selling the Ukraine war. I think most normal people at this point are against it, and they started out maybe ambivalent or whatever. The Israel thing, aside from like people that are rabid Zionists, and it's not, they want to paint the picture that it's all these commies in the colleges that are, you know, pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli or whatever. No, it's like your average person doesn't have a stomach for that shit.
Is meme warfare capable of breaking the connection between Christians and motherfucking Jews? I'm just going to say some real controversial shit, man. I don't understand why Christians don't understand that the Jews don't think Christ was the Messiah. Your whole thing about being a Christian, the Jews don't fucking buy. So like, that's kind of a big problem, you know. And the flip side is, one of the reasons why these fellows want to build this third temple is they want to go back to sacrificing fucking animals. And if you're Goyim, you're the fucking animals. So I don't.
Well, the Judeo-Christian thing is quite a little, like a nice little, it's a meme in and of itself.
Is there a wedge in there, do you think, for meme warfare to get people like, hey, just ask questions like,
right. Well, see, that's a complicated one, because then you're getting into the religious aspects of it, and then you're getting into faith again. And it's important to, it's also important to understand that not every Jew is Zionist. Like, I learned about this. I mean, and when I really deep dived into it, it was like, oh wait, these are a bunch of Jews that are against what these people are doing. So and you know, trying to I don't my work isn't meant to separate, like, or to make two religions fight. My work is to make people who are already fighting with this Republican Democrat shit realize that, like, there's this group of people who are, so like, I'm trying to show, like, you don't need to be divided upon what your gender is or what your race is or what, because it's really just, there's this small group of people and all the rest of us. And, like, and their greatest weapon is keeping us thinking that it's the other guy who's screwing us over. If we just build this wall, like, they're going to fly right over your stupid wall in their private jet, and they're going to take all your shit and fly right back over it, because that wall doesn't matter. But as long as you're really mad about that dude on the border, you're not mad about, like, because I think the biggest thing they're covering up right now is the all-cause mortality data, because they went too far with that shit, and people are dropping dead everywhere. 18 to 64-year-olds. There was a 40% rise in all-cause mortality in 2021 that directly correlates with exactly when they started giving people those shots. And I predicted it. And I predicted it in 2020 or in 2021, early 2021. I said more people are going to die this year, and they're going to blame it on vaccine. I mean, they're going to blame it on variants instead of the vaccines. And
right, and they've been doing that.
And they know they're going to hang.
We have long COVID now.
They're going to hang if they get caught. They're going to hang if enough people realize what they did and that they lied the whole time. They're through dealing. So that's the number one thing. I think they just don't anything but don't pay attention to the fact that you injected this chemical cocktail in your arm that is a ticking time bomb. And every time you turn around, they're telling you to take another one. I really honestly believe they are scared, because they know, like, they are dead. If enough people figure this out and there's enough of a swing, because that's the thing, is like, it's kind of like with the Revolutionary War stuff when they talk about, right? It wasn't everybody that fought in the Revolutionary War. It was a certain percentage of people, and the rest of the people are just followers. If you get enough people on this, they're just the same way they followed and put their stupid masks on, and you know they're followers, because the minute they said on the airlines or whatever, you can take your mask off. Every one of them, woohoo! Now what?
Yeah, they clearly didn't wear the mask because they were,
they were just wearing it because they told them to wear the shit. So if we get enough of us saying screw you guys, a whole bunch of these people are going to go, yeah, screw you guys. So like, that's the real power to it, you know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, my counter religion thing was what we call in the business a throwaway course of action. That was, you throw it up on the wall, and if it doesn't fit, it slides off.
Well, it is an interesting take, right? It is interesting that we're taught as Christians like that these guys are just the chosen people. We should just, and then at the same time they have no respect. Like a lot of people Christians don't realize this. Muslims have more respect for Jesus than Jews do. Like Muslims truly, like I've gotten some of the most beautiful messages from Muslims, and I've gotten some of the most evil shit from Zionists. Like it's night and day.
It definitely is. It's definitely. I think this. They talk about the Schofield Bible, and that's how we ended up with this Judeo-Christian thing. But it's like, look, you don't have to get too deep into the theology to just realize that, like, hey, look, Jesus was hassled endlessly by the Pharisees that were, law-based. Their whole approach to the thing is very legalistic, and it's like, you get these Jews that are, their whole system is based around like how they can kind of get over on God. They have all these rules, like, oh, I have a Shabbos light switch, and I have they have this whole system of systems set up to kind of circumvent God's will. I'm not trying to get on my like theological soapbox shit here, but it's like, hey, at a certain point, it's, and if you read the Talmud and stuff, it's like an instruction manual on how they are allowed to, per their, rabbinical law, deal with us, the goyim. And it's like, you read it right in the book. I have one, and it's like, oh, there's a way that they are meant to behave with us. They can violate their own rules as long as they're doing it to us.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Are we just suckers? Like, have we been at a certain point, no matter how much they scream and flail and say, you're an anti-Semite and you're the bad man, at a certain point, we have to say, okay, stop, dude. Like, just fucking quit. Like, I don't want to do anything to any Jews. I don't want any violence to happen. I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want you to knock it off. Like, enough with
all Abrahamic religions. I wish you well.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, look, if you keep trying to give my kid porn, I'm going to have to do something about it. Like, this is gross, like, we got to figure this out, but people are waking up.
I really think most people are just decent people. Most people just believe in God. They might say, I'm a Christian, but how many of them are really hardcore practicing like the strictest tenets of their, most people are just people, man. They believe in the world that we live in. If you have some kind of faith that gives you some kind of hope that gets you through the day, more power to you, man. I'm glad you have it. I don't know how I'd get through all this shit. I don't know how I'd have made it through all that mocking and that ridicule without having some deeper thing there to rest my heart on and say, you know what, I know I'm doing the right. I know there's some inner power there to help me out. And it is any religion that's telling me I'm better than you. I don't buy your shit, bro. I really believe we're all, and right off the bat, I just think you're wrong. Like, I don't care what your religion is. If you're saying like my little group of people is better than your group of people, and we get to rule over you, I'm against you.
We're the only ones who know. I had two Jehovah's Witness couple showed up at the door, doing their thing. I opened the door, and it's, they got their pamphlet, and it's a kind of older couple, and they invited me to, they were handing out flyers. They invited me to something they were doing Saturday. I'm like, I'm probably not going to come to this thing, but thanks for the thing. And then I started talking to them, and had a really nice conversation with these people. And where we landed on was like, I'm like, yeah, I know a bit about, what you guys believe. I'm not super into it, but I'll tell you what, like, if I'm like anybody that's not, on the side of like the overtly satanic, like, capture of our whole culture and everything is cool in my book. They're like, yeah, totally. So we just started, instead of talking about the, specific theology, we just talked broadly about, but they were like truthers to some respect, like they were, they kind of agreed with me, and I started to, throw out my normal bullshit, and they were digging it. So like,
it's amazing, I've had numerous conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses. They are really interesting people. And you know what? I told you about, like, I talked to churches and stuff. They don't want to hear it. The one group that did listen, not only did they listen, they brought some of their church elders over to watch my 9/11 documentary. Like, they were the only ones that did that. I've talked to these guys over and over again. They live by what they believe. God tells them to go out and preach the word. They go out and preach the word. Like, you can knock them all you want, but they truly believe in what they believe. And when you really talk to them, they're really intelligent people, and they have a really interesting take on things. It's not necessarily my thing, but I don't mock them.
And they were nice. They were cool.
I really got to, like, they homeschool their kids. Their kids were some of the most polite and intelligent kids I had ever met. his thoughts on religion and God and why he did what he did were some of the most well thought out stuff, and they live by what they say. Like he'll die before he'll take a blood transfusion. Now that's kind of crazy to me, but it tells him not to do that. And I mean, I just respect that level of honesty. And and they weren't judgmental to me. They were open to what I was saying. Like, yeah, the government's really like, and I was like, wow, you guys are the only ones that have ever listened to me. Like, it was really strange. And I had this experience numerous times with Jehovah's Witnesses. And it was like, you know, you're taught this whole time, like, oh, here they come again. It's like, you know, if you actually take the time to talk to them, it was kind of interesting. You know what I mean? I learned a lot from the guy.
Old me would have been like, oh, here they come again. But like you know, the way I took it this time was like, like there's worse things in the world than people trying to convince other people, you know, to have a relationship with God or whatever. I'm like, better
than telling your 7-year-old to wear a dress and cut their junk off.
I'll be the first one to agree that several of the critiques that the Taliban have of America, I would be sympathetic to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might be the great Satan. You're right, man. We do turn our women into whores over here. Like, what else, man? Like, you know, like,
like I said, the same way it was like this when I started talking to these Muslim people, and they would write me, these beautiful people from Palestine who saw this white boy in Florida fighting for them. And I got some of them, like I got sent the Kiev or what? How do you say? I'm not quite sure how you say that though. The white scarf with the Palestinian. Like
I don't know what they call theirs.
Kiev, it's Kiyy. I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, I was like, I was honored, dude. It was, and like I got some of the most beautiful messages from these people who were like, this is amazing. Like they couldn't even believe that I cared about them. Like, but yeah, I don't know you, but you're a human being. I see your kids being blown apart. That's what people don't realize. Like, I see what happens in war. I've seen what happens to these kids. The shit they don't put on the news.
Imagine the hope they get from something like that, though, because, you know, from their perspective, they're in this horrible situation, and they know full well that the United States of America provides the munitions that are landing on them, supports the Israeli government. They know all that stuff. So to be able to watch video of an American that's, you know, supporting them, you know, it probably gives them some hope. Like, okay, wait, it's not the whole Western world that's trying to destroy us. It's, you know, these, you know, the governments or whatever. So,
and sometimes that's what I'm doing. Like sometimes I make memes. I make lots of memes, right? I make memes that are with seeds, right? Sometimes, and people get mad because they'll be like, well, you made this meme with this girl in a bikini, or you used the word F word in this word, but they don't understand. Like, I'm making a bunch of seeds, and the seed that works on this redneck guy isn't going to work on this church guy, and it's not going to work on this old lady. Like the old lady likes the kitten meme that I made. And so I'm just putting out all this different stuff out there. And all I'm trying to do is like, and sometimes some memes I'm making, they're not a red pill. They're a white pill to make the person like you who feels alone, who feels like their family won't talk to them and they're being treated. It's just there for you to go like, you're not alone, bro. I can't stand these people too. They're a bunch of mask holes, a bunch of muzzled dum-dums. Like sometimes I'll make a meme like that just so they go, yeah, they are muzzled dum-dums. Because I mean, like I'm not always, you know, kumbaya, let's all get along. Sometimes I'm trying to piss you off. Sometimes I'm trying to like just show some support for my people. You know what I mean? The people out there who feel alone and feel isolated. That's what, like, I've got a video on my Rumble page called Season's Greetings from the Black Sheep that I made for my mom. It's like a 13-minute video, but I've had a lot of people watch that video and say like that video helped them, because here I am, a 20-year activist talking to a clinical educator, and she's afraid to debate me. Well, if you've only been doing this 2 years and your mom's a greeter at Walmart, what chance do you have? So if I can't do it, it's not, and you didn't fail. That's the point I want them to see. Like, these people can't accept the reality, and you didn't fail. You're not doing something wrong. Just move on to the next person. Know that you planted your seed, and keep searching for, because I always say I'm not searching for followers. I'm searching for leaders. I want to wake up somebody, and I've done this. I've woke up people who start fighting. That's when you've really done something, man. You wake up a fighter who just starts plugging away day after day. They're like you. Yeah, it's a 6 degree of separation thing, right? So I woke up this person. Now he wakes up all those people. Well, I had a hand in waking up all those people, because if I hadn't woke up this one guy, and then everybody they wake up, and then everybody they wake up. And that's why we're so dangerous, because that's how the truth spreads. And they can't stop that shit. Once you know what we know, you don't go back to being a dumbass.
Yeah, man. I mean, for all the dark shit that I've stumbled upon, I am happy for it, man, because I would rather know, you know, and yeah, that's fucking soulless for me, man. Is awesome, dude.
Well, cool, man. We're about an hour and a half in, so it was about normally where we cut it.
Yeah, get about 90 minutes.
It's cool talking to you, though,
fun.
man. It's a fun conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you very much.
Where's the best place for people to find? I know we plugged the Instagram, but where else can people find your work?
Like I said, I got a Rumble page. It's Winston Montag on Rumble. I got the Prophetic Memetics on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then I got like Winston Montag on Getter and Telegram and stuff like that. Eventually the pages will get banned and I'll just make them again. So
yeah, just keep
rotating. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and if you're, whoever you are out there, if you're listening to it and you're not quite sure like what you want to do, then yes, I encourage you, if you're not willing to speak out publicly, to make a fake page, make a fake profile, get on your local news organizations or whatever, and grab some memes. Don't just get them from me. There's lots of people that make awesome memes. Add some meme lord friends on Facebook, and you can add me on Facebook, Winston Montag. Send me a friend request. You can follow me and take my stuff, put it wherever you want. You don't have to tag me or give me credit. I don't care about any of that stuff, but
nice.
I just always like to say that you can always do something. There's some talent that you have. Like, I didn't know I was an artist. I mean, I guess I'm an artist when I get paid for it, but I was literally a paid artist before I even thought about the fact that I was an artist, which has got to be one of the first time that's ever happened either. Because normally if you're like a musician or something, you accepted that you're an artist. I'm just some dummy making like word pictures. And then I'm like, I was able to quit my job. And I'm like, wait a minute.
That's pretty awesome.
What is the clothing company?
Oh yes, of course. Forbidden Clothes. That's where I got my tinfoil hat. I don't know if you saw that. Like that
tinfoil. Oh, that's sick. I didn't see that.
Yeah, dude. I love this hat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I follow them on Instagram. Yeah, they got some badass shit over there.
Forbidden.
Yeah, he's got a lot. I got a lot of clothes hanging up behind me. Shout out to the Free Thought Project. That my boy Jason. He's an awesome dude. He's a good guy. Like I just want to say real quick, when there was a turning point in the movement when Trump and came in, that a lot of people thought, oh, he's going to investigate 9/11. He's going to investigate vaccines. And there was a huge split in the movement. And you saw who had integrity and who didn't. Because the people who stayed the course, like, no, he's not a threat to the system. And Jason and Matt Agaris, those are two of the guys that stayed the course and kept doing the right thing. And they paid the price for it. They lost their page and they got throttled and hit, but they maintained their integrity. So I always like to give them a shout out too, because they kept following the right path and kept fighting, even though it would have been easier to just bandwagon cheer like so many, like literally like other organizations that I worked for did, which is why I quit working for them. But I always like to give him a shout out too.
Yeah, when I saw your stuff on that page and I was scrolling through some of the other guests that they've had, I saw Derek Bros on there, and I got a chance to meet him down in Costa Rica, and I'm chatting with him on Instagram, hoping to get him on the show as well, man. So yeah,
cool.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, he's a hardcore OG. He does a lot of really good work. Derek's awesome.
He's forbidden. I was just looking at the forbidden closing. This shit's cool. I'd never seen this before.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I'm probably about to drop a bunch of money on this shit.
Yeah,
all right, man.
Cool, man. Hey, thanks again, man. This was a lot of fun.
Fuck yeah. The man's called Winston Montag, also PropheticMemetics. Check him out, man.
All righty.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care out there.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Dictionary.
Have we stopped recording?
I think we did.
Cool. That was fun, guys.